Cinnamon, episode 72.
Y'all, I wish you could have seen the rear brack he did before that. I was like, here it comes.
I thought I threw you off your game, sir.
It worked.
I've had that plan cooking up for like 9 days now. The Cinnamon, episode 72. Yeah, we're back now, back off about a two and change week hiatus. We're back with more shit for you, man. It's me, one half of the Cinnamon Seed, and over there is the more salt than pepper these days, Mr. Douglas Davidson. How are you doing today, sir?
Realizing as I had just gone back through, I was looking at some cute and adorable photos of my second born over his last almost 2 years of life and going, oh wow. I was more rested 2 years ago and had less gray. Yeah.
You posted a picture of yourself, I think it might be yesterday, and I was like, good lord. We got Jewish Santa Claus in the house right now.
Hanukkah Harry. SNL gave us Hanukkah Harry. All right. I will not be slandered with your Norwegian appropriation.
Kwanzaa Doug is in the house today.
What's that?
I said Kwanzaa Doug is in the house today. We're here to do yet another episode for you, man. It's been a little while. Hopefully you listened to the last joints. Hopefully you enjoyed it, man. As we normally do with these bits of businesses, sir, it has been a couple of weeks. What, pray tell, have you been watching since we last spoke, or that you can just now talk about?
There are quite a few things that I can talk about. One thing real fast that I want to mention, the photo that Daryl mentioned a moment ago is me wearing a shirt that says Benoit Blanc is back, which I got from Super Yaki. If you're not familiar with Super Yaki, they have a variety of hats, shirts, pants, popcorn containers, games, magnets, stickers of all types that they do for different collections. So if you're the type that has seen Bodies, and or you are just a big Lee Pace fan, if you'd like a pair of booty shorts that say Lee Pace on the back, then Super Yaki's the place to go.
I do want those Lee Pace shorts.
They release stuff in sort of these collections, sometimes in spurts. Benoit Blanc had been out of stock. I snagged it the other day. I have two Sam Raimi shirts that they've released coming my way, as well as a Josie and the Pussycat. But yeah, I really like that Josie shirt. It's a nice purple. Anyway, a couple of films I wanted to mention. First of all, streaming on Netflix right now is Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie. Just released. And let me tell you, as someone who has never watched this iteration of Rise of the Ninja Turtles, I was fucking lost. If you're a fan of this version, I think the episodes are also on Netflix. You might like it more than I did. I could look at it and go, well, I know who these characters are. I have no clue what's going on. And in particular, what was problematic for me, not problematic culturally, just for me, is the fact that Ben Schwartz does the voice of Leo. And I had recently rewatched Sonic 2, so I'm just watching and going, it's fucking Sonic with swords.
Yeah.
And
blue. That makes it makes sense.
Exactly. And the weird part is he's voicing Leonardo, as I said, but he's acting like Sonic. Like, this is a Leonardo that Raphael is going, get your shit together, be a leader.
Oh boy.
Do this. And I'm like, that's the reverse of every iteration of Ninja Turtle so far.
Yes.
So obviously there's something going on in the series that I've missed, but it has interesting animation and it's a fun story involving the Krang. So if you like the Ninja Turtles, go ahead and check that out. If you are interested in some animation and you are comfortable going to the movie theater, there is a movie that G Kids just released. They have released some of my favorite animation this year, but it's a film called Inuo by Masaka Yuasa. Excuse me. He did a film called The Night is Long, Walk On Girl about a year or two ago, which I have not seen but have heard good things about. This is a movie adapted from a story, and it talks about Japanese culture. It talks about art. It talks about storytelling. It talks about fame and fortune, greed. There's time travel. There's rock shows, there's hip hop, there's dancing. The movie is difficult to pin down, but it'll feel like the most operatic show you have gone to in a long time. I would dig seeing this in the theater. So if you are comfortable going, highly recommend it. Another movie that I can talk about now that I'm super excited about is Dragon Ball Super Superhero. I got to check that out in advance. It is part of Crunchyroll's movie night that premieres on the the 19th in theaters. If you saw Dragon Ball Super Broly, this is a direct follow-up to that. If you haven't seen it, it is not necessary to have seen it in terms of the larger arc of superhero. Broly is streaming on Stars, which is how I checked it out. But if you want to know what the deal with it is that an old foe from way back in the Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z era of stuff comes back, the Red Ribbon Army. And so rather than having it be the Goku and Vegeta show that was Broly, this one is Piccolo and Gohan. And if all of that means something to you, those names, you will have a good time with Superhero. So it is a lot of fun. And then last but not least, trying to scoot through these is the one, Daryl, I promised you I would mention that you would dig. I finally checked out Graham Moore's The Outfit. What a surprising fucking movie that was.
It was a refreshingly good movie.
It seriously was. From the trailers, I knew it would be kind of a bit of a thriller. I didn't expect it to be sort of a mystery thriller with sort of a game of wits. And whatever you had said when you talked about it on a previous episode, legitimately, it's been so long, I forgot. So if you gave any of that sort of genre sense away, it was out of my mind. But there's some really smart twists and turns. I feel like the ending, it was good for me up until the very, very, very end of the movie when they explained some things that to me, almost having that additional mystery would have been better. But I loved the way that this film was executed. And in particular, being the son of a clothier, my dad's not a tailor by any stretch of the imagination. He would never call himself a tailor. But watching what Mark Rylance's character is doing throughout the film, I'm going, oh, I know that chalk, and I know this, and I know that, and just sort of seeing these sort of familiar things made a lot of it a little bit more fun for me. So if you haven't seen that, I can't remember if The Outfit is streaming on Peacock or not, but it is definitely out on home video.
And if it is, man, I'm going to be watching that shit tonight.
Well, yeah. It's there's Peacock is I think one of the few that I don't have a subscription to. I just found out today the Black Phone is on Peacock. I'm like, motherfucker.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Black Phone is on Peacock. I saw that. Yeah, somebody said that on Twitter the other day.
I think I read it from the co-writer, Kurgel. Yeah, I can't think of his first name all of a sudden, but I follow him on Twitter, and yeah, he mentioned that, and I was like, man, we kept Paramount because we got the 30-day trial, and then we're just like, all right, there's some other stuff, we'll keep it so we can do a few things, but I can't keep paying for these streaming services just to watch movies that haven't hit home release yet. Like, at a certain point, it's cable.
Yeah, you gotta wait for a while till there's like 4 or 5 things, and then get on there for a month, watch them shits, and then hop back off. Like what I would have done with Shudder if I remembered to actually cancel the subscription afterwards.
And because you brought up Shudder, quick mention for people that have subscriptions: a wonderful movie from, I believe it's Africa, Salam.
Yeah, yes. I saw the trailer for it on Twitter a while, like maybe the day before you told me about it. I was like,
yes. Saw it at Fantastic Fest a year ago. It's coming to Shudder in September, and also Glorious, which I talked about in a couple episodes ago, is coming to Shudder this month, August. In fact, the 18th. So if you're looking for some weirdness, look for Glorious on the 18th. And if you just want it's a hybrid genre, I'm not going to get into it. I've talked about it on previous episode. If you don't remember it, great. Go watch that shit when it drops on Shudder.
Oh, there you go.
Next one. What about you?
I have watched some things as well, man. Notably,
Bodies.
Absolutely not. Just like the dude walked, like I walked up to the counter and I had the ticket on my phone and I gave my phone to him and he scanned it and like the scan was like beep boop And the guy looked at the phone, he looked at me, and he was like, I was like, I'm at the wrong theater, aren't I? He was like, yes, you are. Get my phone back.
I have an idea. I have an idea.
Go to the right
Next
theater next
time,
time.
no.
Oh,
Next time you buy a ticket, I haven't bought tickets in such a long time. I don't know if you can do this. Can you add it to your calendar so you can get notifications so that
uh,
it'll point at you and be like, this is the theater, and maybe with the repetition. I'm not even kidding because I suffer from CRS, can't remember shit, and I have to just like constantly check stuff.
maybe I'll check that out, man. I'll check that
But
out.
then
See if
you'd
that's
have
a
to remember
possibility.
to
I have to
add it to
remember
your
to check it.
calendar.
I just hop in my phone or hop in my car and head to North Lake every time. But it just happens that 90% of the time I'm right. No, if you follow me on the socials, you'll know that I watched the first 8 Fast and Furiouses. Boy, that's something. I also saw Resurrection. Courtesy of Douglas Davison, I saw the first 8 Fast and Furious. So thank you for lending me your physicals, sir.
You're welcome. Hold on to those last two. You'll get to them.
No, I won't. You'll be getting them back.
Yes, you will.
Evil, I love it. Yeah, I saw Resurrection, man. I do believe you saw that as well, didn't you, Doug?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, written and directed by Andrew Simons, Rebecca Hall, Tim Roth. Rebecca Hall just kind of found this lane of like, I'm just gonna do fucked up thrillers for a while, and she's been riding it out, and she's just knocking it out the park, man. IFC Films joint. It's about a woman and her daughter, single parent, man, just kind of living their life, and a man from her past comes back to in a word, haunt the fuck out of her,
Mm-hmm.
and it it forces her to face some harsh realities of her past, um, confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what the whole thriller is as much as Tim Roth is the primary antagonist of this joint. Just her past is also a bit of like a secondary antagonist, and she's
Mm-hmm.
forced to face that, and you kind of see why she is as overprotective a parent as she is. That all kind of plays into it. The ending that lasts like 20 minutes, some wild shit. uh so yeah, if you feel like if you do want to check this out and you feel like it's starting to lose you, it's on Shutter with the previously aforementioned Shutter. If you feel like it's, or according to
November should be in
November,
Shutter in November.
okay, November
In theaters now.
in theaters now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
now.
all right.
Yeah, I don't know if it still is, but if you're in the Charlotte area, it was screening at the Independent Picture House.
Okay, there you go. If you feel like the movie might be losing you, just stick it out. Is all I can tell you. Just stick it out, and man, that ending is well worth it. Rebecca Hall, always wonderful. Tim Roth, always doing what Tim Roth does, man. I can't wait to see a change of pace of him in She-Hulk. But yeah, it
I
is a great thriller. 103 minutes, so your time goes by quick, and it is well worth it.
it, I agree completely, and it's an incredible reminder. Therapy matters.
Therapy
Therapy
works.
matters. It works. You got to do the work. If you've been through some shit, do not think you can do it on your own. You will
Mm-hmm.
end up broken. And this is coming from someone who is back in therapy. So
Hey.
it's a film about trauma, big time, and the way that just because you try to control everything to reduce trauma, that doesn't mean that you will not experience pain. You can't control everything.
Yes.
And that movie is
It's one of those like
whew,
the longer you let it fester, man, the worse it's gonna be when it finally bubbles to the surface. And when this does bubble to the surface, man, it gets pretty wild.
yep.
Enjoyable movie, man. I also saw Prey. Everyone's talking about it right now. That was a joint that I had to watch on day one. Another joint in the Predator franchise. Finally, we have a return to good Predator movies. It's on Hulu right now, and it's a quick like fucking 90 some 100
Yep.
minutes on the dot, according to Wiki. So another quick joint for you. It is absolutely delightful. It's a delightful movie. It's taut. It's quick pace, man. It's where I think a lot of people don't realize that Predator is poking fun at at super testosterone dudes. This is taking another way of looking at that as well. Of the super badasses couldn't get it done, and it's not until Arnold goes all the way back to like sticks and stones that he's able to. Well, what if we put the Predator in a sticks and stones type era to begin with, and having the Predator go up against a group of people who are known for hunting and gathering, like that's their thing, that's how they survived. It makes for uh, a great pairing of what ifs there,
Mhm.
and then on top of that, a wonderful story in there as well. I feel like you don't need to go over. We all know what Predators movies are about. They always lose in Game 7 of the finals.
Unless the movie is Predators,
Unless
in
the
which
movie is
case,
Predators.
no,
Oh,
no, they win.
that's the one that I haven't seen because I was just checked out of
Really?
the Predators franchise. Yeah, no, I was all done with Predator franchise in general until this movie. And then did you know this was coming? It just kind of popped up like, hey, we made a movie, and I
Oh
was like,
no, I've known about it for a while. It's Dan Trachtenberg. I've been interested in it for some time.
I
I,
think
of
I had
course,
heard.
haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, terrible,
Um,
absolutely terrible.
no, the night I watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I was supposed to watch Prey, but Preston wouldn't go to sleep, and I refused to watch it without Crystal. And it
Oh,
took him 2 3 hours to go to sleep last night, so we didn't watch it then either. But yeah, no, I've known about this for quite a while. A lot of folks are upset that it went to Hulu as opposed to being in the theaters,
man,
and
man, it would have been good in theaters.
the way that the information that I've heard from Trachtenberg himself, that what he alludes to is that it was a business decision, not in a tax write-off HBO Max kind of way, but in a, if we put it on Hulu, then rather than in the theaters, then Disney can control it. Disney can control who has access, they can get credit, blah, blah, blah.
Okay,
If they put it in theaters, it would have to go to whatever contractual partners Searchlight was working with. So it would have probably gone to HBO Max or something else before it could have gone to Disney on their streaming services. So for them, as a way to have an exclusive that would drive people to Hulu, but also means that they would have it in their ecosystem. So
business.
this was not a business decision in the sense of we don't want to put it in theaters or we don't believe in it to put it in theaters. We just want to
They wanted
keep
to
it as our
drive.
thing.
They wanted to drive the content. Yeah,
Exactly. So the one thing I found really nice and has been fairly consistent is that no one has talked about the quality of the film in terms of why it went to Hulu. But I also do understand, again, having not seen it, why a lot of people go, "Hey, it would have been great to see this in theaters. Why was it on streaming?" When other films go to theaters, and you go, "Why did this get released here?" So, um, I'll at least stick up for the film in that regard as providing an answer. I hope to check it out myself pretty soon.
Speaking of movies, they could have went to streaming. Bullet Train also also hit. I was really looking forward to
Missed the
this one.
mark.
Yeah, it kind of, the bullet kind of missed the mark. The train kind of derailed. It did not get to its final destiny. Oh, yeah, it's David Leitch, man, known for his work in the Wicks and Atomic Blonde, some other stuff in there. He's one of the forefront action directors or of the
Mhm.
new generation, quote unquote. Uh, him, Leach, Stahelski, a couple of the people in there. And no matter what generation you put him in, George Miller is always one of the newest people in the action franchise. It's a good movie that's just muddled down by the story is a little more cute and clever than or is not as cute and clever as they think it is. And you end up kind of with a whole lot of assassins on a train. What you kind of think from the trailers is to do this one thing, but that's not the case. A handful of assassins are on there to do this one thing, and a couple of assassins are on there for a myriad other reasons, and it just all ends up being not entirely coincidental that they all happen to be on this same train at this same time. There's a whole lot of crossing stories, a whole lot of overlapping characters, and not everyone gets fully served in this. Matter of fact, most of them don't get fully served in this. I know a lot of people made a big hoopla about, hey, Bad Bunny, he's coming to his first, I think maybe 5 minutes total. Then you have other people you see in the trailer, they're like, oh shit, I didn't know that. And then one scene here, maybe two scenes there. This is mostly Brad Pitt's movie, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry's movie, and helping of Joey King in there as well. But yeah, it's I feel like coming off of his Oscar win there and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he just kind of wants to ride it out for a while and chill. He has his bit part there in what was that earlier this year? The Lost City.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
fun in that.
yeah. I think he just wants to have fun for a little bit. He had his bit part in Lost
He can
City.
afford it.
It's obvious that he had fun in this. It's one of those
Yeah.
movies where everyone looks like they just had fun doing it, but the story itself just wasn't quite there for me. Or they might have focused more on the action elements than they did what you need the action to serve, which is the story. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson hustles the fuck out of this movie. As charming as Brad Pitt is, Aaron Taylor Johnson is right on his heels with cowboy shit all in this movie, man. I almost a little bit of trimming down, a little bit of retooling it could have been something better, I think.
Very cool.
That's it. That's all I'm talking about, man. Those three
Two things. First of all, want to clarify when I commented about Brad Pitt being able to afford to do this, I want to be clear, wasn't speaking financially, but just like the guy has done, like, you've got a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that's a more serious, if you will, performance, whereas The Lost City, Bullet Train, these are more popcorn friendly type of films. He's allowed to. He has the kind of career where he can afford to just go and have a good time for a little bit, ride that out a little bit. Sandra Bullock, for example, she did The Lost City and now she's in this. Going and having a good time, not everything has to be about going for awards. Now, having said that, I'm curious about you. Have you read the book that this is apparently based on?
No, the only person I know that's read this book is I think Paul and Bella. I think he
Yeah.
read it. Other than that, no. From what I heard, it's a little bit more darker. From what I've heard people say, like on Twitter. Gabe's the only person I actually know, but from other people I've heard on Twitter, it's the jokey tone is not what you get in the books. They kind of they punched it up a little bit. Apparently, when they first set out, Brad Pitt's not the person who was originally attached to this. I forgot who it was, but it was going to be a bit more serious. But then when Leach got his hands on it, they really punched it up and made it a little bit more into a summer popcorny end of summer blockbuster type feel.
Well, releasing it in August, that's the perfect time for that.
Yeah.
That last hurrah before we start being serious and thespian-y.
Antoine Fuqua, that's who was originally developing the joint. Yeah, so definitely would not have been what it was if Antoine Fuqua was aboard.
Now I'm trying to picture that. I haven't even seen the movie. I've only seen the trailers, but I'm going, what would that movie have looked like? Because I like Fuqua's work.
For the most part, what I've seen of Fuqua, I have enjoyed. Also, Brian Tyree Henry's English accent is terrible. It's almost like not purposely bad, but I feel sorry for Aaron Taylor Johnson, who had to hear his native accent just get butchered all to hell every day on the set. Horrible.
Maybe it'll be in the bonus features. Maybe they'll talk about
him talking shit about Brian Tyree Henry's terrible fake English accent. But yeah, man, if you're looking for something fun, you could do worse. I recognize that I'm in the minority. Mm-hmm. I know most people are like, it was fun. Fuck what you're talking about. But for me, that some of that story just stuck out like a sore thumb. If you're going for just an action movie, then yeah, there you go. You'll get some good set pieces.
There you go. I'll see it when it hits home video.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. That's it, man. That's it. What are we talking about today? What's today's topic, sir?
Today's topic, you came up with this one, and this one is very. This is going to be one of those topics where we get into it, and if you have any issues with it, make your own list, because this list is made for me, just like your list is made for you. Literally, Daryl came up with this, you did, and I thought it was great, where you wanted us to come up to go through our catalog, go through the movies that we've watched, and just identify some films that we feel were literally made for us, that when we watch them, they were like, it's got this, it's got everything I could possibly want. Mm-hmm. So putting together a list of examples for ahead of the topic was difficult, because these are all movies that I love. And it's stuff like Big Trouble in Little China, Belle, Shakespeare in Love, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. Lucky Number 11, The Man Who Killed Hitler, and then The Bigfoot, Sing Street, Princess Bride, One Cut of the Dead, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the live action one from like the 80s. They Live, an Airplane, Top Secret, and American Outlaws, Get Shorty, and Dogma, PCU, and The Ref. Like, that's Meteor Man. Like, what are you gonna tell me? I have shitty taste? It's my taste. It can be shitty if I want to. The trying to come up with this list was really hard because it was sort of sorting through my beloveds. Which one do I love more than another? So I love this and I hate you for it.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for, sir.
Would you like to go first since this was your idea?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. The first one is what I call my Douglas Davidson movie. I'm not sure if you've seen this. If you have, I wouldn't. I would not subject you to a challenge of this movie.
Oh, fuck you!
It is the Onion movie. The Onion made a movie. A lot of people don't know that it is a sketch comedy movie, and it is based off of the Onion. We all know the satirical news site with a very loose plot of your Ted Koppel, Dan Rather, Peter Jennings type of older established anchor who does the news for the Onion. He's the stalwart there, and the Onion is bringing in new sponsors to help try to breathe life into it, and he's kind of being pushed out and taken over by these new sponsors. So what he's reporting on kind of is some of the sketches we see, and some of the other sketches we see are commercials in between him doing the news, and it's all just nonsense. These are it takes a certain sense of humor, like there's all sorts of different kinds of comedy. If you're a fan of absurdist nonsense, this is kind of up your alley. Very juvenile humor, not like slapstick.
It's like
juvenile.
Kentucky Fried Movie,
kind of like Kentucky Fried Movie, yeah, in a way. And it's just the writers of the Onion got together and just made all these pieces and somehow stitched them together. And like a good sketch comedy movie, a lot of them all tie together in what should not be a climactic third act, but it has a climactic third act. Steven Seagal, and there's Cock Puncher. We're seeing trailers for his new
no. Mark Hamill is Cockblocker.
That's
Cockknocker.
Cockknocker. Yeah, that's Cockknocker. Yeah, he's running trailers for his like Cock Puncher 6 in the Cock Puncher series, something like what Ben Stiller did with Doug Speedman, right? And just all these weird one-offs that seem like weird one-offs, but all kind of tie in together at the very end. It is absolutely absurd. It is stupid as all hell. It's only 80 minutes, and there was a sketch that had gotten stuck in my head like a week or two ago, and it's early on in the movie, and I put it in there just to laugh at that, and then all of a sudden I realized I was at the end credits, and I had just watched it all the way through again. Hadn't seen it in years. Some of it doesn't work, but what does work sticks hard.
There you go. I have never seen it, and I'm just going to say F you for that description.
Don't add it to the watch list.
Because if I love a movie, I want to share it with people.
Don't add it to the watch list. This is one of those movies that's like I wouldn't even bother to address this with anybody outside of this show.
I'm offended. I'm offended at
that. I'm saving your life.
You just said that a movie that was made for you, you wouldn't even recommend to someone, and you named it after me.
It's the Douglas Davidson pick, man. You have your own weird, quirky sensibilities. I think for me, this is my weird, quirky sensibilities.
Yeah,
what is your first pick, sir?
My first pick is a movie I've actually recommended to you as an early challenge, you fucker.
Oh, if it helps, my next two picks would not be challenges either, because they're made for me. What is your first pick, sir?
2010, and I'm actually going to go in reverse chronological order for this. We're going to get older and older as we go.
All right.
2010 Guy Moisha movie Bunraku. I fucking love this movie.
Okay.
I saw this trailer when it first hit around 2010, and I went, I must fucking see this. I worked at the Action Film Festival when it was in Asheville. It just so happened to be screening this. I was not working when it screened, so I got to, and I haven't shut up about it since.
Mm-hmm.
I have made sure that as many people as possible can see this movie because it is cinematic and it's theatrical. It is slightly musical and it is serious and comedic and dramatic. It's got samurai, it's got wannabe ninjas, it's got the proletariat against the elites. It's got fucking everything,
Mm-hmm.
and it's amazing. It's got Ron Perlman throwing axes.
Yes, it does.
It's got Josh Hartnett throwing punches. It's got Woody Harrelson just giving wisdom as a barman. Like, it is wild and weird and fucking fantastic. And if you haven't seen Bunraku, look up the trailer. It gets its name from a Japanese style of shadow puppetry, and the whole movie, the production design is based on that.
And production design, yeah, I remember that, and I remember that production design mixed with just the cinematography of how they showed it and the colors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was some wild business.
One of my favorite things. I'm trying to remember the actor's name. He's not listed for some fuck reason on Letterboxd, but Kevin McKidd. There he is. Kevin McKidd. He plays the killer number one, if I remember right,
Number
underneath
two.
Ron Perlman's. Oh, he was killer number two because Ron Perlman's killer number one. Thank you for the correction. Because he's the
Mm-hmm.
top of the list. And Kevin McKidd's on the phone and he's fighting someone, and I forget that guy's name, but he was a stunt man. And the whole time that he's fighting him, someone calls him, and the way that they shoot it is that first it's individual shots on one in one location, one in another, until they decide to switch it, and the screen behind the one guy that made the phone call sort of goes transparent, and you see that Kevin McKidd's on the other side. So when Kevin McKidd starts to threaten the guy who called him, he just turns and looks at him. Like, it's just so subtle and so smooth, and the whole time he's still fighting. Kevin McKidd's on the phone still fighting, and the stuntman's just getting his ass whooped. But that stunt guy was at Action Film Fest and taking part in a panel with Michael Jai White and some other folks. So it was just, I have a lot of great memories associated with it, but the movie's fucking amazing. So if you get the chance, if you're curious, go check it out. That's
Yeah,
Boomerang.
man. Yeah, that's a good call there. I remember thinking that was a highly unusual movie, but I fairly enjoyed it. Now we get into the movies that I've talked about many and many a times, I feel like before. My second movie, uh A24 joint, man. Nowadays when people talk A24, now it's the vaunted thing that it is, and it's known for its wonderful prestigious movies like The
Mm-hmm.
Souvenir and Hereditary and Midsummer and all that. They forget about some of the little guys. They forget about the fun movies. They forget about Free Fire. I love everything about Free Fire, and I feel like it's made just for me because it came out. People talked about it for 2 days, and I haven't heard anybody but me talk about it since.
Mm,
Uh,
mm-hmm, mm. Both of us.
both of us, just me and Doug, holding down Ben Wheatley in this movie, man.
It's so good.
It's so ridiculously good. If you're unaware what Free Fire is, it's set in the 70s, where I do 70s, where the IRA is
Mm-hmm.
in Boston, man, doing an arms exchange with some shady dealers led by Sharlto Copley in his most ridiculous role ever. Sharlto Copley in Elysium turned up to like 15, and there's no beef there. The beef is with their helpers for the most part. You find out Sharlto Copley's helper puts Killian Murphy's helper in the hospital. He put his helper's sister in the hospital because she would not perform sexual acts on them. And those two see each other, so there's already animosity, and there's a lot of guns around
Mm.
because they're at an arms exchange. And then when the first gun comes out and fires, every gun comes out and fires, and that idea does not sustain you for a whole 90-minute movie. So somewhere there in the 2/3 mark, and they're in this abandoned warehouse in the middle of nowhere, and then on the second floor a phone rings. That changes the entire game because everyone knows First person to get to the phone is the first person to call their boys for backup. So then it's a whole new scramble to get to the phone. And it just how it all plays out. Hidden people in the shadows you don't even know are supposed to be there. False identities all throughout. It's just great. It's just a wonderful, fun, funny, ridiculous movie. A great cast list too. Like I said, Cillian Murphy in there, Brie Larson in there as well. Jack Rayner, who I said A24 should put him in every movie they ever do. I think he's been in like 4 or 5 A24 movies. It's just a great cast list all throughout, man. Fun and funny.
Jack Rayner is one of my favorite parts of Sing Street, by the way, which was
He,
not an A24 movie.
nah, no, he's not. But he's my favorite part of. Is he in? I think he's in mid '90s. The Jonah Hill A24 joint. I think he.
That's one I have not seen.
Yeah, give that one a good watch.
Theoretically, it's coming to HBO Max, so I'll be able to see it.
Oh, is mid '90s one of the ones that's coming to HBO?
I think
Max?
so.
Well, good for y'all. I could do with a rewatch of that movie. But yeah. That's my second one, man. Free Fire.
Right on. For my second one, I got myself a notion, and one I know that you'll understand.
Mm-hmm.
We set the world in motion by reaching out for each other's hand. Maybe we'll discover what we should have known all along. One way or another, together is where we both belong. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could not figure out that song, you need to go back to the 90s, listen to some Tevin Campbell, because yes, those were the opening lyrics to Eye to Eye, one of the greatest singles off of a soundtrack ever, period. Hands down, end of discussion, released. And that movie is a Goofy movie. Because if you don't know the perfect cast, I don't want to know you. I don't want to know you. Go watch a Goofy movie and then come back and we will talk, because that movie is so sweet and it is so charming. And it came at a point in my life when I was feeling like an outcast, and I knew what Max Goof was feeling like. And I had some close friends, and there was a girl I liked, but I couldn't get her attention, and that whole fucking thing sucked. And I'm not talented enough to pretend that I know some celebrity and get on stage and dance with them. But for about 90 minutes, I could pretend. And those songs are still really, really good. Not even just like, oh, because of nostalgia. You go back and listen to some of those tracks, particularly the 2 Tevin Campbell ones, and they're still just rock and roll. And actually, what amuses the shit out of me is Eye to Eye keeps popping up on TikTok. People keep using the song for different things, and I'm like, good. Keep it going, good. But it's just that there's something about that movie, and particularly now as a parent, and with the underlying story, for those of you that don't know, is that Goofy has a son, Max, who is, quote, getting into trouble at school. And so Goofy decides, you know what, we're going to go on a road trip. We're going to go fishing like I used to do with my dad. And he goes on this road trip, takes Max. Max isn't happy about it, and actually Shanghai's, which is funny because we'll talk about Shanghai in a little bit. But Max takes the road trip into his own hands and redirects them to LA. And there's this father-son animosity. Each one wants to spend time with the other. Each one loves the other, but they can't quite connect. And as a father who is struggling with some of that, as well as a parent, it's still quite powerful. It's just, instead of seeing it as Max looking for that parent, I'm now Goofy.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I love that movie. And Eye to Eye.
Movie confirmed.
Go watch it. It's on
Goofy,
Disney.
the only member of Disney that fucks. I love it.
Yeah, but he only did it in one position. That's how we got Max.
Yeah, that's how we got Max. That's how we got a great Snoop Dogg album as well. My final movie, man, comes as no surprise to anybody. Can you take a guess as to what this movie might be, sir?
Green Knight.
It is the Green motherfucking Knight, baby. A movie that was made for I've stated a couple times before that with every other studio trying and failing at a cinematic universe, I would have loved an attempt at an Arthurian cinematic universe in a more serious tone than what we get in the MCU. And while we don't have that, I get what could have been an alternate dimension of one of those entries from an Arthurian cinematic universe in the form of David Lowery's The Green Knight, man. Dev Patel just out there crushing it, killing it. Cinematography, beautiful. Story, great. A wonderful adaptation of an age-old poem that I'd completely forgotten about. That kind of stirred up some old Arthurian love that I used to really have way back in the day. It's just a great movie. I've spoken at length about it. I think I don't need to speak too much more about it now. It has been officially included into my Christmas rotation, as it does begin on Christmas Day. So Die Hard will now be my Christmas evening watch, but The Green Knight will now be my Christmas Day watch. And it is a tradition that I look forward to for the rest of my life, because I love this movie, man. The tone is perfect. Alicia Vikander can be hit and miss for me, and I think as Essel, the commenter that he knows in the beginning, she's but when she is the lady, she fucking rocks it with that monologue that she has about the color green. The fact that not everything is explained, one of my favorite third acts in movie. Look at what could have been possibly. Just wonderful all around, man. I love The Green Knight. I'm here for it.
Sheer curiosity, do you have the official A24 Green Knight sword? And follow-up question, is it on your registry?
I do not have the official A24 Green Knight sword, because anyone who's ever been on the A24 page knows that a bag of air costs $400 from the A24 store. Horrendously overpriced and understocked. I hate the A24 store with a passion. There's so many things I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of dope. Oh, it is way out of any normal. They're like airport prices, and I don't understand why.
And not even duty free.
And it's not even duty free. No. There are a couple things on there that aren't green. I refuse. I've looked at some of the scripts I would like to have, just to like read and break down and see how the screenwriter wrote this thing. I refuse to buy any of those scripts until they come out with The Green Knight. But the Moonlight one has been catching my attention lately.
So what you're saying is that if Paprikans who are listening to this wanted to all chip in and buy you the sword as a congratulations to our leader for getting married later this month, they could do that if they wanted to.
They
Paprikans
could.
who are listening to this.
If all 1,500 Paprikans were to contribute $1, we'd be halfway to our mark. Yeah, man, I love this movie, man. It frequently comes to mind quite often when I'm thinking of movies, man. What is your final selection, sir?
My final movie asks a different question than my number two. Would you like to swing on a star, carry moonbeams home in a jar, and be better off than you are, or would you rather be a mule? A mule is an animal with long, funny ears, kicks up at anything he hears. His back is brawny, but his brain is weak. He's just plain stupid with a stubborn streak. And by the way, if you hate to go to school, you may grow up to be a mule.
Yeah, isn't that what Bruce and ILO sing?
Hey,
there it is. Yeah,
1991's Hudson Hawk, directed by Michael Lehman. As I understand it, critics were not kind to this movie in 91. And as a critic now, I say consider reevaluating that. This movie knows exactly what it is. It is it's not it's not quite a farce, but it is a heck of an action comedy that does not take itself seriously. It's Bullet Train, but with a smaller budget. Like it's it even has a lesser Stallone. I mean, come on.
Shout out to Frank Stallone.
But for those of you that aren't aware with Hudson Hawk, and if you're not aware of this movie, you are in for a fucking treat. It is Bruce Willis early in his career. Bruce Willis, Danny Aiello, Andy McDowell, James Coburn, Richard E. Grant, who is just, there's no scenery left. There is no goddamn scenery left between him and Sandra Bernhard. This was my introduction to Richard E. Grant, and I love that shit. David Caruso's in this. Frank Stallone is mentioned, as well as a bunch of other people. I always forget that Lorraine Tresant was in this.
Lorraine Tresant was in.
She's one of the candy bars.
Mhm.
So, for those of you that aren't aware, Bruce plays Eddie Hawkins. He's called the Hudson Hawk. He works out of New York. He is a burglar. And he and his partner, played by Danny Aiello, they sing songs to know how long to do something. They know
Mhm.
exactly how long a song takes, and they find the right song to do the job. And they get in, they get out with no issues. Well, Hudson finds himself in hot water when he's hired to do a job that actually gets him into trouble with a bunch of other people, and he gets caught in a web between the CIA and some really eccentric rich folks. It's ridiculous. It is fuck dumb, but it is so much fun. And Crystal and I, we love this movie so much for our own respective ways, and came to it separately. That at our wedding, we were trying to come up with something that would be fun as a centerpiece, but if people were hungry before the food was ready, would also be something that they could enjoy. We'd been at a wedding, I forget whose, and they actually had like snacks of some type. So we grabbed little Snickers, little Kit Kats, little Butterfingers, and I forget what the other ones were for all the candy bars. That was the candy theme at each table, were the candy bars.
Mm.
It enabled us to have Hudson Hawk as part of our wedding. So I think we also used Swinging on a Star on our save the date. We sent out CDs of a custom playlist that I put together that actually had, if you want to check this out, it's pretty amusing. I used some editing software to incorporate movie quotes in and out. The one thing I'm still a little bitter about, I understand the choice, I understand, but I'm a little bitter about, is at the time, CeeLo Green's Fuck You was really popular.
Mhm.
And I forget if it was going to be at the beginning or the end of the song would play the Boondock Saints scene. Fuck, fucking, fucking, fuck. What the fuck, fucking, fuck.
Yeah.
What the? How did you do fuck, fuck? Well, it really illustrates the diversity of the word.
That's the best line in that movie.
And Crystal was like, "Yeah, we can't send this out to my family. Why not?"
Why not? Understandable. Understandable, I
So
guess.
that is my made for me. It uses song, it uses comedy. It's light and a little bit dangerous. It is just it's not a perfect example of the comedy and stories that I grew up with, but it's really fucking close. It's
There
as
you
close
have
as
it,
you
man.
get to capturing almost all of it all in one spot.
Boom. Done and done. And that is our lists, man. How you feeling about yours, sir?
I am, of course, feeling awesome. I wish that there was room to talk about movies like The Matrix, a film that I was already interested in various philosophies, but thanks to The Matrix, actually went and got a philosophy minor in undergrad, and have used that in my while earning my master's degree in other things, and it's been enormously helpful in my professional career in all of its forms prior to becoming a film critic. That there were other movies like Four Rooms that I would have loved to include, but like how picking all of them, fuck you in this topic.
Yeah,
It's
you're quite
so good,
welcome.
but fuck
Quite
you in this
welcome.
topic.
All right, sir. So we're our challenge. We're doing a little something different with the challenge this time around,
This is an
sir.
interesting idea.
This
Yeah.
is an interesting idea. We did a double blind cinnamon challenge, a
Mhm.
movie that
Just had to listen to the movie.
just had to listen to the movie. And actually, that movie was Jamie Foxx's Ray. No, we had to we you told me that you bought Flowers of Shanghai.
Mhm.
I during the Criterion sale, I do believe I bought it maybe last year. Yeah, I think last year during a Criterion sale, but I've not had gotten around to watching it yet. So I suggested we do a double blind where we both watch a movie we have not seen yet. And that movie's Flowers of Shanghai, man. Directed by I didn't pull it up.
I am not familiar with that director's work. What a
New
unique name. Is that like Banksy?
It's a new cat on the scene. A millennial. Here we go. Flowers of Shanghai, directed by who? You know what? I'm gonna pay respect by not even trying to pronounce his name. If you listen to this, sir, you know who you are.
Uh, I I may be mistaken, but I presumed, and again may be mistaken, how Hussein.
Sure, we'll go with that.
I may be wrong.
That way, if
Uh,
you're wrong, he'll send the assassins after you instead of me.
I mean, I thought it was in my contract that I would always take the hit before you.
You mean whatever
You
gets
had
me
me
out
sign some
safest?
sort of document. I didn't read it.
Whatever gets me out safest.
This is what
Uh,
I'm saying.
yeah, yeah. Would you want to go first? You want me to go first, sir? How you feeling about this?
I can go first. For those of you that aren't familiar with Flowers of Shanghai, it's originally released in 1998. It was added to the Criterion Collection within, I want to say, the last year to 2 years. It's a new release. It
Mm-hmm.
was one that when it hit my inbox, I was curious about it, requested it, was sent nothing that month. So I didn't watch it. But when the sale came up and I've had gift cards sitting and waiting for this exact purpose, I was like, you know what? Let me check this out. It is an adaptation of a novel,
Sing Song
and
Girls of Shanghai.
that is correct. And it talks about what's interesting is that the original novel has actually been translated into a couple of different languages, and most notably, one got translated, if I remember right, into English in 2005. And the person who translated it actually got partial way through it and then passed away, and someone else had to finish the job of translating, not of
Finish the job.
the
He's
person
not
who
dead yet. Clack, clack.
realized how that was sounding in the flow of the statement. But anyway, the original novel is about these women who are known as flowers. They are courtesans, and about their lives. And evidently, the original novel, the way that it's written, it opens with a prologue of the author talking about themselves in third person in a dream that they're having. And honestly, in watching the film, I got the sense that that is the approach taken in this film. This film is for a film about courtesans and the men who occupy their lives. This feels like a staged production, and I mean like theatrical, in the way that the camera maybe moves 3 or 4 times total. It's a ton of just long shots, one takes. Primarily the camera pans, but that's about it. So it's about capturing the moments as they happen, and the images in the story, the camera fades in from a light and fades out as though someone has turned off the light. So we really have no sense of a timeline regarding when things happen, how much time has happened. We also, because we only see either the individual courtesans talking with someone in a space, or there is a shared communing dining area, which we see a number of different people come in. It's where the film opens. But all it is talking and interacting, which is fine as a drama. But it is in its delivery and execution, you really have to be invested early on, for me anyway, because rather than feeling pulled into it, it is so much like a dream and so much like I am observing these people that I felt separated from them rather than pulled into it. I feel like for me, I need to do more research on it to see if there's something that I'm missing to appreciate or understand what was being done with this adaptation. I ran into that with The Funeral, and all of a sudden I can't. Ito is the last name for that director. I watched The Funeral and I was like, okay, I get it's a satire, it's funny, but there's something I'm missing. And then I did some research on it, read through the essay that was included, read some other stuff, and I started to pick up then, oh, this is what was going on here versus this over here, and this is the cultural difference, what have you. And it made me appreciate The Funeral a whole lot more, to the point that I bought Tumpampo when I bought this, which is the more popular of that director's work. This one, I feel like I don't know if I have to do homework in order to appreciate it, but I feel like I didn't appreciate it as much because I couldn't connect with it. Does that make sense?
Makes sense because I didn't connect with this shit either. Yeah, man, this has got to be for me the widest disparity I've ever seen that I can think of between technical excellence and a story I could not give a shit about. If you just want to look at this on mute, you'll have a time of your life. There is
It is beautiful.
craft and care in the production design and the cinematography and the lighting. It's just the world that he populates after he builds it is a story and characters that I do not care about. And to me, frankly, were about annoying as all get out. It's weird. I have a bit of something of a connection history, whatever you want to call it, to something like this, as I saw this happen many times during my years in Korea. And I've watched people interact with women like this and fall far too deep into the game, to where I've seen drama like this play out in real life before. Not people poisoning people, but not
Yeah,
quite
that would
that
be
far.
bad.
But that would be bad. I've seen some weird drama unfurl itself, but it is a lot of character motivations, a lot of choices made. I just couldn't. I just wasn't invested enough to care about. This movie is 100% a definition of tell, don't show,
Yeah.
because this is all words, man. Everything, nothing is revealed through actions, with the exception maybe of the one scene where Tony Long actually emotes when he's drunk. Um, this script had to have been 542 pages because it is a wordy bastard. So you really need to be on your P's and Q's and invested if you're going to be able to keep up with all the what's going on. All your dramatic reveals are done via dialogue. All of your setup is done via dialogue. All the payoffs are done via dialogue. It just takes place. You see no outside world. So you have
No.
no idea what these people's lives are like outside of these brothels, which kind of hurts developments if you only see them in this one instance, in this one setting. Um, but yeah, it's just a movie that I did not fully connect to myself.
To be clear, by the way, for everybody, the reason why it's called Flowers of Shanghai is that the courtesans themselves, as I mentioned, are called flowers, and their names are given to them pearl, crimson, jade, emerald by the women that run the house that they all call auntie, and
Aunties.
they're usually girls that are purchased at very young ages and are trained to be courtesans. And we learn through one particular discussion that a flower may only be popular for a brief period of time, but during that time, they may earn enough to get their freedom from their auntie. And some of that aspect is interesting. The fact that there are the Tony Leung character, he is apparently in love with, I think it was Crimson,
Mm-hmm.
and
At the
had
beginning.
and had promised to take care of her. And we learn about this because he shows up in Crimson's handmaid, I guess, is like lambasting Tony Leung's character. You promised that you would take care of her, and she isn't seeing all these other people and this and the other. And Crimson is just being as passive fucking aggressive as possible,
Mm-hmm.
except for the fact that we learned later in the film that he asked, and we don't know, we the audience don't know if this is prior to the movie starting or at some point between jumping amongst the flowers. He tried to marry her, asked for her hand, but her family or her house or whomever didn't agree to it,
Mm-hmm.
but yet still demanded that he honor his promise to always take care of her. And so there's a lot of problems with this, and the fact he falls in love with another flower and he does marry her, and then there's some other issues. But I think that a lot of the interpersonal provides insight into that period of time in China that I think the original novel was like in the Qing dynasty, Qing.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But that the movie actually takes place around the time of British involvement in the area. Um, so we learn things through subtext, which is interesting. And I don't feel like we needed to see the outside world, but I do agree that it became difficult to care about or engage with as an audience these characters so much as they were beautiful to look at in terms of the setting, the costuming, all of that. But it was hard to like feel yourself connected to it. Now, I know some folks that quite love this movie, and obviously Criterion sees value in it to provide this restoration and get all these bonus features and all this research. So maybe it's just the academic in me where I'm like, well, maybe I just need to read more. Maybe I missed something. There's something of value here that I don't understand, but I can appreciate where other people might go, nah, fuck it.
And I'm other people in this case. Fuck it. This one will go on the shelf. It will gather dust. Yeah, maybe I'll pull it off to try again. But as for tonight, if I don't watch the outfit, then I need to watch Shang-Chi so I can get some good Tony Lung in my day.
Ooh, Shang-Chi is so fucking good.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's it for this episode. Unless you have more to say about the Flowers of Shanghai.
I do not. I do have to say though, because you brought up Shang-Chi, Phase 4 has some good movies, people. Not all of them are gonna be Endgame. They can't all be Endgame. Fuck, Endgame wouldn't have been Endgame without Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3.
And people don't
Take a
realize
breath.
that. If everything was Endgame, then Endgame wouldn't have been anything special.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like Phase 4, you may not have loved every movie. Fuck, man. I've seen over 200 movies this year. I haven't loved every fucking one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have to love all the movies. They don't always have to be amazing. Sometimes movies can just be good.
Sometimes it can just be good.
But you know what? Shang-Chi is not one of those. That movie's fucking awesome.
Yeah. That's it.
Fucking
for this
great
episode for the Cinnamon Man. We'll be back. We'll be back theoretically 2-ish weeks. Sometime by the end of the month. We'll throw something out there for you.
And then we're going to take a break because somebody's going to the chapel and getting married because I don't know the tune.
That's it for
there it
this
is.
episode.
Go to the chapel and you're gonna get married. Yeah, because we got to take a break for that.
Yeah, we got to take a break, and I'll be off back at business.
Gotta go get some coffee. Yeah. Go bang some chicks. Play some Nintendo. I should have reversed that.
Yes. Also, I'll be at Worldcon for all you pop bringers that might be in the Chicago area. I will be there doing a couple panels. Labor Day weekend. Ooh. Yeah, Labor Day weekend.
You fancy.
Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit. That's it for 72 of the Seattle. But we will be back as soon as we can for you. We got 2 episodes lined up. We think it's going to be some good materials, man.
We do. It's going to be fun.
Until then,
it's no Douglas recommendation, but it'll be fine.
But what is? You all take it easy and have a good one.
Later.